they are going to make examples, and these examples have started. And Tornado Cash's developer arrest in the Netherlands does draw some community protest, which is good. After the detention of Alexei Pertsev, campaigners worry holding developers accountable for malicious use of their code could have dangerous and a chilling effect. Of course, this is the case that we saw early in the 90s when, people were essentially developing encryption for emails, where they did demonize these people. I mean, even to the point to where in Austin, Texas, they attacked a comic book store, a role-playing game store, just because they had basically a role-playing game. Actually, I have the book over here that talked about this in the future. It's over here. You can look up Steve Jackson Games and the story behind them. Luckily, they're still around. But GURPS right here, this is the 4th edition. I have a 1st edition as well. Very fun role-playing game. But pretty much just because this game talked about essentially everything that's going on now to a certain extent and talked about encryption and so on, they decided to have the FBI raid them and shut down the small business in Austin, Texas, and completely burn all their books. And this is the path that it ends up going down. It's an attack on small business. It's not an attack on the people actually doing the wrong. And that's the problem. You're throwing, I mean, it's the classic throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? More than 50 people gathered in Amsterdam's Dam Square on Saturday to protest the arrest of the blockchain developer Alexei Pertsev, who was arrested on August 10th on suspicion of involvement in the Tornado Cash protocol that was sanctioned earlier this month by U.S. authorities. The 29-year-old was held just 2 days after the U.S. Treasury froze Tornado, a virtual currency mixer it said was used by North Korean hackers. After an August 12th closed-door hearing, an examining judge agreed to keep him in custody for 2 weeks. A press release issued by Dutch Financial Crime Authority, FIOD, said the arrest was on suspicion of involvement in concealing criminal financial flows and facilitating money laundering through the service, which can obfuscate the source and destination of funds that pass through it. While the system can be used to bury criminal proceeds, it also has legitimate applications. Dutch authorities have not stated which laws Pertsev allegedly broke. Different press releases and statements have offered different explanations. Pertsev himself has yet to be charged with any wrongdoing, so the demonstrators were reluctant to comment on legal issues. Many, however, worry about Pertsev's arrest means for the future of Web3 and are conscious of a chilling effect of the Netherlands blockchain ecosystem. It's a case where the fundamental principle of crypto is being questioned. Roman Busko, there we go, of law firm Busko Krasnov told CoinDesk at the demonstration. And yes, I have trouble with names and I apologize for butchering them every time we do an article. The case concerns whether the code is an expression of free speech. In my view, it is. In the U.S. code, code is deemed protected under the First Amendment to the country's constitution, but that's a notion still being tested in Europe. The protesters, who included Pertsev's wife, Zenia Malik, and waved placards demanding his release and chanted open source code is not a crime. FIOD also said that those behind decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs, the loose structures that govern many Web3 projects, have made large-scale profits from criminal flows, though it is not clear if they consider Pertsev to have been involved. The arrest goes against everything I've been working for in the last couple of years. Protester Eleanor Blanc said, "This is creating a chilling effect that goes against innovation and that goes against the community." The FIOD statement is more FUD, more fear, uncertainty, and doubt coming from Dutch regulators and from Dutch institutions. It's not good, she said. And of course, on the Dutch forefront, we have to mention that there's a lot going on there that is damaging not only to cryptocurrency, but to our supply chains and to our way of life as a whole, as they have come out and basically started attacking farmers at this point and shutting them down in the name of environmental impact, create fear and destroy basically the livelihoods of the middle class, so that you end up starving out the poor people and they die. That's where we're at in our society right now. And the idea behind it, which I understand the argument for it, which is we sacrifice the poor people now so that less poor people die later. But I just don't think that that is a way to approach it, because you are basically saying at this time, we can guarantee that if we take these actions, we will starve out a certain amount of the population, in hopes that we prevent the starving out of people in the next generation or generations down the line, maybe 100 years from now. But you can't guarantee me that you're saving any lives in the future by taking the lives of the present. And so I just don't think that that is a very good path to go down. And I will get into more of this if you guys want on my locals channel, because I think I'm going to stop here on this front. But check out sonofatech.locals.com if you're interested, and let me know if you'd like to go into more discussion surrounding that. Blanc is the founder of CryptoCanal.org, a Web3 events and consultancy company. Let's stay competitive. Let's have clear laws. This creates uncertainty. Others say authorities should be really focused on holding accountable those responsible for debacles such as the recent crash of Terra USD. Alex is just a developer. They should be going after the true criminals. And I wholeheartedly agree with this quote from Naomi. Pertsev is not responsible for criminals using his code for doing illicit activity. That's like saying the inventor of the knife is responsible for murders. It's truly ridiculous. However, in a world where we are completely redefining terms over and over and over again, it is clear that we are shifting from essentially negative rights to positive rights. And this is something that you need to pay very, very close attention to, because at some point it will become that the person that is creating the gun or the knife will be basically considered guilty for the crimes that are executed with the gun or the knife. And this is not something that you can actually sit by and tell me is logically sound or consistent. The arrest could have implications for those in other areas of web development, said Rodrigo Zapata, a project manager in a blockchain biodiversity company. It is the equivalent to put someone in jail that codes Linux because some hackers somewhere in some country are using it for hacking some government systems, Zapata told CoinDesk. It's just ridiculous and out of proportion. Laws, he said, need to be updated for the open source era. Public authorities are overstepping what is supposed to be done by legislators and not by executive power. And this is where we really get into the inevitability, like I've talked about before, of this sort of digital dark age that comes along, because at the end of the day, with open source code, it will be absolutely impossible for regulations and for the nation states to basically enforce any laws surrounding it. So what you end up is basically with a whole bunch of examples being set, like we'll see here, right? We'll see a bunch of examples set with individuals. And this actually works out in pretty good favor of people in control, because it means that the people that are not being impacted won't care. And so I want to make sure that people are paying attention and do care, because the people that are going to be made examples of are the people that we need to protect. Because if we can protect them, then it will be inevitable and impossible for them to control the entire ecosystem. Whether the authorities will take notice is a different matter. While gathering was one of the larger groups in the square, wedged between the Royal Palace and Wax Museum in the heart of the capital, the Free Alex protesters jostled with evangelical Christians, Satanists, and performance artists dressed as Death and Jack Sparrow. Among the other signs seeking attention, boycott Israel, hands off Cuba, and Jesus was black. Stop organ harvesting from Falun Gong, and democracy is back in Bolivia. Both FIOD and the Dutch public prosecutor declined to comment when approached by CoinDesk before the demonstration. And these things are just going to become more and more common. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Crypto Mining Show. You can check out the full episode here or more crypto content down here. Also, I'd like you to check out my locals page at sonofatech.locals.com, where you can become a member for free or choose to be a $5 a month supporter that unlocks additional content.